Hey there, SKs, and hey there, JKs. Welcome to your combined math lesson of the day. Today, we're not only going to talk about analog clocks, and we're not only going to talk about digital clocks. We're going to be talking about both of them and kind of comparing them as we go along. So let's start our lesson by taking a look at a bunch of different analog and digital clocks. Here on this page, what kind of clocks do you see? Are they analog with two hands? Or are they digital with digits? A digit is a number. Do you see numbers everywhere? Yeah, these are called digital clocks. Can you say digital? Great. So digital clocks are quite easy to read. You don't have to do any figuring out and figure out where the hands are. You just look at the clock and the beginning part, let me make a little circle for you here. Let's say we're looking at, all right, this clock right here. The beginning part tells you the hour. So here we see the number 5. Then there's two dots called a colon. And after the colon, it tells you the minutes. So this says 5 hours and 30 minutes. I would just say 5:30. If you look up at this one above me, can you see the one I'm looking at? The hours say 12 and the minutes say 0. So 12 hours and 0 minutes, that's 12 o'clock. Now if we go into the next page, look at all those clocks. What kind of clocks are these? Are these digital again, or are these analog clocks? Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. These are absolutely analog clocks. Analog clocks have two hands. The short hand is the hour. The long hand is the minute. The short hand is the hour, and the long hand is the minute. So if I look at a clock on this page, let's look at this one. I would first start by looking at the small hand. This one is pointing to 9. And then I look at the minute clock, the minute hand, pardon me. So if I look at the minute hand here, it's pointing towards 12, which means 0 minutes have come by. It's a brand new hour. Ding! It's 9 o'clock. So I could write 9:00, and these things mean the same. Writing 9 o'clock this way or seeing 9 o'clock on an analog clock like this are the same thing. And that's what we're going to be looking at today in our lesson, figuring out how we can write out the time digitally from an analog clock and how we can express digital time on an analog clock. Okay, let's go check out our lesson of the day. Today we are Wednesday, May 6th, 2020, and it says today we'll be comparing analog and digital clocks. This is day 1 of that. So we're going to start off with our teacher model here. Here we have a blank analog clock and a blank digital clock. All right, let me get a nice color. Let's work with dark red. Okay, now, do you remember how many hands are on the analog clock? How many hands are there? That's right, there are 2 hands. The short hand tells the hour, the long hand tells the minute. Now, for the sake of our lessons, we're always going to have our long minute hand pointing at 12. That means that your time will always be ding on the hour. It'll always be some hour o'clock. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, doesn't matter. But it's always going to be a new, brand new hour without any minutes having passed by. So when that minute hand is pointing to 12, it's the same thing as saying that 0 minutes have gone by. Okay? If the hand was pointing at the 1, it would be 5 minutes. If you see here, there are 5 little lines. This is 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 5. So you're going to be learning a little bit more in grade 1 how all of these markers designate minutes going up by 5. But that's too much for today. For now, all you need to know is that all these little lines, tick, 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 they represent minutes. So being on the 12 is like you're starting right at 0 minutes. So our long minute hand is there. Now I'm going to put the short hour hand on a number. What time is it in this clock? That's right, it's 9 o'clock. And you know that because the short hour hand is pointing right at the 9. You could always make dotted lines to make it go a little bit longer if you need to see exactly where it's going. And the minute hand is pointing on the 00, which means ding, beginning of a brand new hour, you'd say o'clock. So it is 9 o'clock. Here it is. What time? 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Oopsies. 5 o'clock. All right, you get the idea. Now, let's just say I put my hand back on 9, so it's 9 o'clock. How would I write this down on a digital clock? So remember, I told you that there's 2 sides to a digital clock. There's the left side here, then there are these 2 dots, which we call a colon, and then the right side. On the left side goes the hour. So where is the hour hand pointing? 9. So I can put a 9 here. Now the right side is for the minutes. So remember, when that minute hand is pointing at the 12, it's like saying 00 minutes have gone by. You're right at the beginning of the clock. So if 00 minutes have gone by, I can just write 00 here. And this would be telling us it's 9 o'clock. What time would it be if you were looking at the digital clock and it said this? What time is it now? That's right, it would be 6 o'clock. What about now? 2 o'clock. 1 o'clock. 12 o'clock. You get the idea. All right. So now let's go see if we can answer some questions from our worksheets. Now, there are 4 pages total for today. JKs, I'd like you to do the first 2 pages. And SKs, I'd like you to do all 4 of the pages, okay? So for activity number 2, it's gonna be testing your clock reading skills by asking you some questions. And number 1, fill in the circle of the digital clock that shows the same time as the analog clock here. So you'll have to look at this clock, figure out what time it is, and then find out which option here is telling you the same time on a digital clock. For number 2, fill in the circle of the analog clock that's showing you the same time as the digital clock here. So find out what time it is on this yellow digital clock, and then pick the analog clock that is telling you the same time. Next page, for number 3, you have an analog clock and a digital clock. And for number 3, I want you to show 9 o'clock on both of these different types of clocks. Remember, the minute hand on the analog clock doesn't change. It'll always be pointing at the 12, 00 minutes. It'll be 9 o'clock because it's pointing at the 12. So you just need to make sure that the small hour hand is pointing towards the 9. And make sure that for these clocks, you're starting your lines right at the little dot in the middle. For number 4, same idea. You have an analog clock and a digital clock. You need to show 3 o'clock on both of these. Next page, what time of day is being shown below in the picture? Is this morning when the sun's going up? Afternoon when the sun is high in the sky? Evening when the sun has begun to go down? Or nighttime when there is no sun? 6, what activity do we do during the morning at school? The morning. Do we eat lunch? Do we do our writing? Do we have gym? Or do we go home? Which one do we do in the morning? Then, what is something that we do in the afternoon at school? Do we have relaxation? Do we eat breakfast? Do we have our morning circle? Or do we eat dinner? What do we do in the afternoon? And then the last page, I just put some extra review for you SKs. It's going over time of day again. Number 1, which picture shows the morning? Number 2, which picture shows the evening? And number 3, last question, what time of day is the below picture showing? Morning, afternoon, evening, or nighttime? And that is how the cookie crumbled, everyone. That's all from Miss I for instructions. Time for you to get busy, finish those math worksheets, and I will see you a little bit later on. Take care.